there's an idea that the Russians really they blundered through like the beginning part of the war, that they made a lot of mistakes.
That's true.
But you would say in this situation it was more the resistance put up against the
No,
Russians.
both can be true at the same time. The Russians were incredibly stupid about how they acted and what they did. I mean, they were using maps that were made in the 1980s to navigate their way to Kiev. They were coming in these long, snaking columns that exposed, dozens and dozens of their armored vehicles to partisan attacks and anti-tank weaponry that the Ukrainians were using, including the American Javelin systems, which proved very effective in the early weeks. No, they made mistake after mistake after mistake. But at the same time, there was really strong resistance on the Ukrainian side. But it's the combination of those two things that kept the Russians out of Kiev. Also, there were Russian special forces on the ground already in central Kiev. So, as I write in my book in the latter part about this period of time, there were agents paid by and coordinated by the FSB, the GRU, Russian Special Services, to work as saboteurs and agents on the ground that were providing that were providing information on what was happening in central Kiev, and particularly in the government quarter, to these agencies and the military outside of the capital, to aid them in trying to get them here, but also with arms themselves, trying to storm the presidential administration, parliament, key government buildings, to destabilize the situation. And they did have this kill list, which included uh, President Zelensky and several of his cabinet members, and they were trying to get in. And if we talk about them, they were also very close to not. I mean, to seeing Russian agents and troops storm through their gates. The presidential administration, it's not like the White House, where it's guarded with heavy security, and there are all of these fences and layers of security that keep people away. It's the streets in front of it are open, and it's right in the middle of the city here. I was looking over my shoulder because I could sort of almost see it just over the hill behind me, but uh, they the leadership here in Kiev was asleep when the invasion started, and they had to rush to get to the president's office, or wherever they needed to be. And the security at the administration was saved because they essentially used a bunch of their own vehicles to barricade the entrances on either side of it. And there were shootouts in the street between Ukrainian security forces and these Russian agents. And this is all information that was told to me from the security services here by the Zelensky's chief of staff, Andrei Yermak. And so it was, again, this unorganized response that saved them, not defenses that were in place because they expected this to happen.